Ahoy everyone, welcome to City Skylines. My name is Captain Corndog and this is the city of Cliffpointe. Today we're going to be working on a high school and a middle school for our citizens to send their children in hopes of a brighter future. This particular high school is going to be based on the high school I went to when I was a kid, but with some changes because some of the things my school had I wasn't able to get, so I had to improvise a bit. The first thing I wanted to do, unlike the lot for our shopping center from the last video, was to get a parking lot that was an acceptable size and still have it look like the one my school had. So I laid down a few roads, placed the school where I want it, and proceed to draw out the lanes where they should be. After getting the lanes down, I started adding in parking spots. I haven't quite figured out this parking lot roads mod, so I keep having trouble getting things to work properly. I'm still not sure what to do to get rid of these blue boxes you can see on the edges of the parking lot. I've tried everything I can think of to get rid of them and nothing seems to work. Eventually I gave up and decided later to just add some landscaping to cover it up the best I can. Once the front parking lot is finished, I throw down the gym and move on to the faculty parking lot on the side of the building. Again, getting these rows to work the way I wanted them wasn't going to happen, so the main objective here was to get what spots I could down and in the right position so that they'll work as good as they can. It took a couple tries, but I finally figured it out and got it in place. Now that the parking lot is done, I moved on to the baseball field in the back of the school. I tried to make a field house like the one we had by combining some garages, but later in the video I ended up destroying it completely because I didn't like the way it looked. So here's where we start to veer off from the design of my school. My school has a softball field beside the gym, but I didn't have a softball field, and I tried to find out if there was a way to shrink the baseball field I had without adding another mod to the list I've already accumulated, and there doesn't seem to be one. After realizing that I wasn't going to get the softball field in, I decided to try and stick as much stuff that the school does have in and figure out something with the rest later. The track that I'm using is made by King Leno, and it's the same track he used in the football field I used for the build later in the video. When I looked back at pictures of my old high school to make sure I was remembering things right, I noticed that there were a lot more soccer fields next to it than I remember. I think I counted 6, but I might have counted wrong. Needless to say, I didn't want to put 6 soccer fields next to this school, so I went with 2 and left it at that. There aren't going to be a lot of sims using them anyways, so no need adding more than that. After the soccer fields, I placed down a few basketball courts to fill in the empty space where the softball field should go. Next, I started adding some landscaping to the front of the school to make it less bland. I ended up moving most of this stuff to the other side of the school later on in this video to expand the school itself because this particular school wasn't big enough to adequately resemble the one that I went to. Moving on to the side of the gym, I decided to add an area where the students can hang out either before class or during PE. If it wasn't for the prop line tool, a lot of this build wouldn't be possible because getting things in perfect circles would be almost impossible. So shout out to the creator of that mod because it's really a game changer. Mostly just add a couple circles of tables and some trash cans inside a rectangle of shrubs and palm trees to help it feel a bit separated from everything else. Now we move on to where I decided to expand the school and move the statue and stuff to the other side of the school. Once I got the statue and shrubs out of the way, I used procedural objects to make a copy of the school building and worked it into place. Once I had it where I wanted it, it was on to cosmetics to make it blend in better. The first step was adding some extra parking in the front to cover up the space between the road and the school itself. After getting paths connected, I moved on to the back of the school where I made most of it concrete. Then I started adding in some herringbone decals to break up some of the bland gray blob that it turned into and a small patch of plants and benches to bring back some of that green we covered up. Once that was finished, I decided to add a fountain to the middle, and while looking through the ones that I had, I chose this one with the horse because I'll probably tie it into the mascot of this particular high school. You'll see later on in the video that the game auto-generates a mascot for us, but if things go as planned, I should be able to cover up the mascot and add my own. Now that the back of the school is finished, it's time to add some landscaping to the parking lot and try to cover up some of the blue areas. I added in a few small planters to the spots in the middle of the parking lots, and for the blue spots on the sides, I used a row of bigger plants and trees. It isn't perfect, but it's the best that I could do with what I had. After getting those situated, I added some lights to the planters in the middle to brighten up the two lots. Then it was on to putting the statue back in and adding in some landscaping around it. Some palm trees that will soon become synonymous with this city around the edge. Some hedges and benches around it for students to sit and chat about whoever this gentleman was for the town. I want my builds to have a nautical theme, so maybe this is the remnants of a pirate town and this man was a well-known pirate captain. I added in some more planters in an L shape around the corners with a couple different flowers to add some color and some more benches and trash cans. Then I started adding in some grass and other shrubbery around the palm trees because I don't like the way trees look by themselves. Now we're moving on to the baseball field and adding some extras to help it stand out a little more. I used some fencing around the edges to add a foul line to both sides. Then I added in some industrial fencing for the backstop. I couldn't get the backstop to sit properly where I wanted it, so I ended up having to build it backwards and use the Move It mod to put it where it was supposed to go. I even added a guard room to the backstop to work in place of a broadcasting booth. Then I paved the side closest to the street and used some kiosks that I had to make some food stands with some seating areas around it so people can enjoy a nice snack while they watch their kids play some baseball. I ended up putting trees around the outside of the field instead of a fence because I'd imagine most cities would rather have trees than a fence because they act as a buffer between the field and any buildings or traffic that might be close by. I added in some more trees, but after trying to figure out where the football field would go, I ended up taking most of them out and place it down. The football field for my school is downtown, while the school itself is miles away, so I had to debate whether to put it here or not. Then it was on to more cosmetics, adding in a fence around the border of the field itself, finally getting rid of that makeshift field house I built that looks terrible after looking at it a second time. Then I added a few more kiosks and an eating area for this field and some more trees around the perimeter. While I was here, I figured it was easier to add in an elementary school to this patch of land instead of trying to fill it in with trees or something. It only makes sense to put one here to consolidate the space and to get all of our students going to one area instead of trying to spread them out. Maybe in the next video we'll add in a bus depot and get the kids some buses to get them back and forth to school without the streets being clogged with cars because their parents have to take them to school every day. I really like the look of this school. A lot of the middle schools tend to be really small, but I wanted one that was a bit bigger so that it filled up more of the empty space. I built a privacy fence around the school to keep out any prying eyes, and then I added in a playground to the back. I wanted to make it bigger, but there aren't many vanilla assets for playgrounds, so these 6 items and some benches were the only things I had to work with. I wasn't really sure what to do with the ground around the play area, but the different assets had a ring around them, so I decided to make the whole area into dirt so that they blend in better. Since the play area wasn't as big as I thought it would be, I decided to move the fence closer to the school and fill in the space with trees and a path to fill it out. But that about wraps up this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button and press the bell so you see every episode when it comes out. Thanks again and have a great day.